Coach Adam Dolan. Talons Out Live takes you in depth and behind the scenes of the West Carroll War Eagles with stats, comments, and a breakdown of the previous game, plus a look ahead in the schedule. We'll sit down weekly with special guests, players, administration, and the coaches for a look into the locker room. This is Talons Out Live. Welcome one and all to the War Eagle Radio Network, Talons Out Live. It is October 15th, 2024. Better late than never. I had some major computer issues for some reason. Couldn't even get connected to the internet. I couldn't open up anything. So I was on the struggle bus there for almost 40 to 45 minutes. But we finally got it, and we are here ready to rock and roll. Adam Welch, how are you tonight, my friend?
Good. How are you?
Good. A little stressed. Trying to get. I don't know what was wrong with the computer. It just decided at about 5:50 it wasn't having it.
They've got a mind of their own some days.
Yeah, sometimes. Coach Dolan, how are you, my friend?
Doing all right. How are y'all?
Hanging in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Besides stress. So, all right. Well, let's just dive right into it. We talked about this last week here on Talons Out, that the Brewston game could be very close, could go either way, and it lived up to its name.
Yeah, it did. I don't even really know where to begin talking about that whole week. That week was very long, a lot of hours, a lot of thought on how we were going to even go out there and play football. And just kind of talking about that week, I don't know. Most people don't know this. If you're not in the building every day and see what's happening, if you're not at practice and know what we've worked leading up to it, that was a brand new football team on Friday. You're like, well, Coach, you only lost 3 guys. Yeah, but you lose 6. That's 6 starters. And we've had other people banged up and sick and whatnot. And when you lose certain people at certain depth, and they were, very similar in the positions they played, especially in the secondary and linebacker, we had an 8th grader play every snap on defense the other night at corner and did a great job. There was other things too. Like, I just don't understand. I don't think a lot of people understand that was a different team, and we got ready in 3 or 4 days and played a football game against a team that was going through the same things, but they still had a lot of pieces, and it was a lot of different styles. We had to do what we had to do, what we thought was best to, go through that game and the rest of the season. And I had this laying on the desk. This is what goes on our players' wristbands, that they see. There's 5 columns of 27 calls. So you can kind of do the math. Some of the spots are not filled in, but there's different things on there, a lot of different stuff. And that right there, looking at it, I mean, it's over. We used maybe 3 or 4 things off of that in that game. Everything else was brand new that our kids learned and executed in the game against Brewston. I have, been so proud of their effort and their buy-in to doing that, because no one griped, no one complained. A lot of people's jobs changed. Everything changed for a couple players in some spots, and no one said a word. No, at least not to me or to the coaches, other guys in the building. They just worked and practiced and got ready to play. No one griped or complained or belly ached about having to do something new or not what they wanted to do. Not a word. And that was so great to see, that a bunch of guys kind of understood the situation and that drastic changes were going to have to be made, and that we could still go out there and win a football game, even though we were literally starting over in a lot of sense. So speak for all the coaches, so proud. I mean, I told our guys today in film that that's probably the first game in 3 years, at least I've been here, that we won a game. And I'm going to be honest, we shouldn't have won that game. On paper, there was no way we should have beat them. As far as the youth that we had on the field and having to change everything up in 3 days, that shouldn't have happened. And the fact that we did and found a way is a credit to the other coaches and the kids and how they played and executed. We played a complete game in a lot of ways, and had several guys step up. And I said last week we're going to have a couple guys play the game of their life, and I think we did. And it was just, I cannot be more proud of them, to be able to go through what we just did. A lot of people don't get it, and that's fine. But our guys showed a lot of backbone and I can't even speak, backbone and a lot of heart with that. And I hope it carries over through the rest of the season because we got a chance to win some more games too.
It really seemed like that, like you was talking about, on such a short week, a short span to get everything squared away. It really seemed like that they understood the assignment and they bought into what y'all were asking them to do. And like you said, it was probably a game that absolutely was not a victory, but it seemed like during the game there were a lot of things that went really, really wrong on both teams and a lot of things that went really, really right on both teams. And it just kind of, I guess, fell our way to an extent, but they never gave up. They had that heart and they really bought into what y'all were asking.
They did. The buy-in has been there. That's not been in question during the season or before the season. Got a lot of kids that they're bought into what we're trying to do. We don't really talk about that too much. We fully expect those guys to do what we ask them to do, and they do. Sometimes, you make mistakes, and if they're physical mistakes, you can fix those and clean it up. If they're mental mistakes, you can fix those and clean it up. But, the game was – I like to tell the kids all the time, styles make fights in boxing and in the octagon, in the world of fighting and stuff like that. Styles make fight. They were going to throw it as many times as they could, and we were going to run it almost every play if we could. And it was just polar opposite styles and philosophies. And we don't want to be like that, but we have to be like that right now. We threw it some, and the way we threw the ball, we were 6 of 6 passing. I know we called a 2-point conversion, but 6 of 6 on some really, some of that was some gadgety and not practiced a whole lot stuff that we put in a week. And Zach made it go, and Mason made some good catches, and so did Jace, and Trendon made a good catch on a rollout. And, guys that, just stepped up and did what was asked of them. But, a lot of the stuff was clean. Like, we did a lot of things that were different on the surface looking at it. But we tried to keep a lot of the assignments in the same thought process of what they've learned as far as being rule-based, and we took on the burden as coaches as trying to, we can't do too much, but we got to do more than we were going to have to change up enough to where Brewston was going to be on their heels on defense, not knowing exactly what we were doing. That was, having the element of surprise was definitely great for us. And, no offense to anybody, we were going to be more physical than them. And we thought that, and we that was our mantra: just be more man than them, be more physical than them in everything you do, and we'll be fine. They only ran 22 plays, and we talked all week. Our best defense, and we're in a bad situation right now defensively. Our best defense was going to be the fact that they were on, defense. Like, as long as we have the football, they're not scoring. So they only had 22 plays in the whole game, and they scored 4 touchdowns. That's not good. We gave up some big passes, and our coverage was going to be a problem. And people were probably griping about that. Well, we got 4 defensive backs left, 5 on the team, 4 playing at all times. So, and some of those guys are playing every snap on offense. So they're tired. We're trying, those guys are trying their best, and we don't get to give them that kind of look every day. So they tried their best they can, and we did fine in some situations, some that we didn't, but we did enough. We made enough plays. We only had 6 possessions, but we scored on 4 of them, and one of the 2 that we didn't, we took a knee to end the game. So that was the model of efficiency on offense. So hopefully we can continue that. We're going to have a lot more of that. But as far as the group, just so proud of them. The buy-in, like you mentioned, was huge. And, this is fall break. Fall break is always an issue as a coach. Especially with young guys and the young team. But, we'll be all right going forward. Other people have to go through it too. So I feel like we took some strides this week as far as maybe not as far as a win or loss, not for execution state, but like as far as, maybe there's some proof now. Even when your back's against the wall, we got some guys that did some things that I don't know if a lot of people are expecting them to do. And they went out there and beat a team that had some kids on the field that, were older than them and stuff like that. And it just shows that, we have a future here. even though our numbers are light now, that's going to grow in time, and we have a future. And even when things are not great, we've got a way to develop some things and go out there and make the best of a situation that's not the best, so to speak, and found a way to win. And that was a huge win. That's just not beating Brewston. I mean, that clinched the playoff spot. Well, theoretically it did. It would take a very strange scenario for us not to be in the playoffs, but it pretty much all sealed that up. So, I mean, that is huge. Anytime you got 2 or 3 seniors on the team, one of your best players a senior, and he gets hurt, can't play, and you get your quarter. All those things that we've talked about in the last 2 weeks that's happened, the fact that you can clinch a playoff spot against your rival, it was such a special night.
You was talking about the possession counts and things like that. One of the things that I really remember and that was kind of crazy for me and odd for me to see in the third quarter, over 9.5 minutes of possession on that ball. What was that like for you and your kids? And like, did what's going through your mind when you're seeing that? It's just 9.5 minutes on offense.
Great for our defense. They can't score. We had 41. We had right a little bit over 41 minutes of possession out of the 48. That's what it was going to take. We had to do that. If we would have only had 29 minutes of possession, we lose that game by 4 touchdowns. Let's be honest, because we couldn't have kept them out of the end zone in the passing game. They couldn't run it. They had negative yardage on the night rushing. They couldn't run it. Didn't want to try to run it. It was going to be hard for us to hold up. So, my thinking on offense is, make a good call. And that's the thing. We're huddling now. People I haven't seen West Carroll huddle in a couple of years, and it's new to our kids, and we're still working the kinks out. And they're like, that shouldn't be hard. Well, all of it's different to our guys, and we're creatures of habit, and so we're working through those adjustments still, and we'll be through the rest of the season. But I guess don't make a bad play call, and like as long as we don't hurt ourselves, we're going to be fine because we were running the ball pretty good and mixing it up. And as long as we didn't put the ball on the ground or have a bunch of penalties, we were going to move the ball. And unfortunately, it's like this. It's almost like kind of a blast to the past when you're holding it that long and just get 3 or 4 yards and keep it moving, and we go for it on 4th down and get it. It was it's what we call in football. It's a coaching staff. It's a very ugly but beautiful thing to see that. A lot of people want to see what you see on TV and the ball in the air and go and catch it and all the skill players making plays. But that game was about offensive linemen and defensive linemen and not making a bunch of mistakes when you had the ball in your hands and stuff like that. So it's a beautiful, ugly thing, or an ugly, beautiful thing. One way or the other, you want to look at it. So I was just proud that we were able to execute offensively the way we did in just the situation. And you talking about learning a lot. A lot of our guys learned a lot of stuff in 2 to 3 days, and they went out there and were able to do it. Were they perfect? No, but they played very well in the sense of understanding the situation they were in.
We're going to go over some stats for this game. Final score, West Carroll wins it 28-26. First downs, West Carroll 20, Holler Rock Brewston 10. Passing yards, West Carroll 93, Holler Rock Brewston 207. Total offensive plays, 264 yards for West Carroll on 65 total offensive plays. Holler Rock Brewston 22 offensive plays for 193 yards. We look at some more stats here on the penalties. West Carroll with 9 penalties for 60 yards. Holler Rock Brewston 7 penalties for 61 yards. Time of possession, you talked about that, Coach, was huge. 41 minutes for West Carroll, which was astonishing. You look at the individual leaders. Let's start with West Carroll. Mason Taylor, 20 carries for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. Zach Fowler, 27 attempts for 53 yards. Trendon Kirby, 6 carries for 21 yards. And Zach Hames, 3 carries for 2 yards. For Holler Rock Brewston, Howard, 2 carries for -18, and Corbin Brown, 4 carries for 4 yards. Let's talk about throwing the football. For West Carroll, Zach Fowler, 6 out of 6 for 93 yards and 1 touchdown. And for Hollow Rock Brewston, Braxton Howard, 13 out of 16 for 207 yards and 4 touchdowns. Receiving for West Carroll, Jace Hammett, 3 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown pass. Mason Taylor, 2 catches for 27 yards. And Trendon Kirby, 1 catch for 6 yards. For Hollow Rock Brewston, Caden Dean, 5 catches for 49 yards and a touchdown. Seth Thomas, 3 catches, 65 yards and a touchdown. Brady Roberts, 3 catches for 63 yards and a score. And Dakota Craig, 1 catch for 23 yards and a touchdown catch. Coach, I look at this game. One word sums it up for me: a courageous effort. Just absolutely courageous effort. But talk a little bit about some of these 8th graders that stepped in and some of these young guys that really came in and how much they had to adapt and learn their roles quickly in 3 or 4 days this week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, first off the list there, Parker Newman played every snap on defense and tied for the leading tackles. I mean, I know we didn't play a lot of snaps on defense, and that's okay. But Parker did a great job at corner, and he's come in from the first day and done a great job, asked a lot of questions, showed a lot of, he cares a lot. He shows it in a lot of ways, and that's great. And I think all those guys do. The fact that they've come up when it wasn't mandatory, it was a choice. Hey, come up and get better. I'm going to leave it to you. We had some 8th graders that are good players that didn't do that, and that's okay. But, they were ready to, continue. Alex Cavan is coming up, has been doing a good job in practice. And, Caden Eubanks Rogers, he's sick right now, and he wasn't able to attend the game because he was sick and out of school, but he's been with us too. And then, Tyson Fuller as a lineman, he's going to be a really good player for us one day. And, those guys have been coming to practice every day and getting better and learning what we're doing. And it's just it's a lot to soak in and absorb right now. And there's a lot of things different from middle school to high school. I mean, that's obvious to say the least. But, they've been doing a great job and helping us out. So very, very excited about them. They've already showed, that they can handle some things. And, Coach Bain, Coach Duggan down there have got those guys ready to come up with the right mindset. And that's the thing, I've told many people all the time, what do you want your 8th grade and your 7th grade, what do you want your middle school team to be about? I mean, pretty much 2 things or 3 things. I want them to have a lot of fun, have a way to have fun, make the game fun for them, teach them, some blocking and some tackling, the base things. And then number 1, get them to be 9th graders. If they're having fun and they love football, get them to be a 9th grader. I can't use them if they're not a 9th grader. If they don't want to play anymore, then they're no good for the high school then. So it's but we got guys coming up, and I'm proud of them. And this week, there's going to be a couple more on the field. I think, Cavanis is going to play. He's going to rotate in some at receiver for us, and Parker's going to do the same thing and then play on defense. And so you're going to have some 8th graders here and there. And then, of course, we got freshmen that have been on the field all year, and sophomores, and, we've got juniors, our bigger class, and then, our 2 seniors. So it's a mix of everything, but it's all hands on deck kind of thing. And they've done a great job, and I know that they'll continue to do so.
Well, and talk a little bit about, you talked about being rule based. Talk a little bit about the adjustments now that, the coaches have to make, the players have to make. You had a strong showing, I thought, a courageous effort against Brewston now that you had only just a short, precious few days. Now you've got a few more days. What are some of the things you're wanting to build on as you go forward into this week against Camden?
Building on trying to identify exactly what we can be the rest of the season. Camden is a good, people are going to look at Camden's record and be like, their record's not whatever. But just look at the people they've lost to. They're all in the top 10 in the state in 2A. And if you're in the top 10 in the state in 2A, that means if you were in 1A, you're a top 2 or 3 team in the state.
Yeah.
If not better.
Right.
They play in the toughest region in the state of Tennessee, and when you compare it to the rest of their classifications. That region is brutal. I have a lot of respect for those guys over there. They're doing it the right way. Their offense and defensive line are good. They're well coached in the box and the D-line inside linebackers. They run the football. They're physical. Number 7, you're going to hear about him a lot. He's going to play quarterback, play some receiver, play safety. He's one of the best players in West Tennessee. extremely fast. We played against him last year when he was quarterback for them.
Yeah.
Very good player. So, and they got good players in other places. They're a fine team. If they're in any other 2A region in the state, there's a couple of those 2A regions, they'd probably have a chance to win the region, or they would definitely be the runner-up. So
Yeah.
they're a fine team. This is going to be a really, really tough task. But there's things that we can build on from the Brewston game that gives us a chance to – the styles make fights. If we do what we're supposed to, now that how we're going to play on offense, it's going to be interesting because – to be honest, what you see us do on offense, not everybody sees every day in practice. So, and that's the thing with us now is you get film on us to prepare what we were 2 or 3 weeks ago. Well, that's not us. So, hopefully, Camden's got one game to go off of. Well, not to tip the hat or anything, but show everything, let the cat out of bed. That wasn't everything that we can do.
Right.
We got more that we're going to work on and more that we can build on. And there's some things we can pull out that we have done in the past and some things that we haven't. And it's all about fitting our personnel and being able to exploit what we think Camden is and what they're strong at, what they're weak at. And it's just another week to be able to get better at our execution. The offense has got to be more crisp. We got to be in and out of the huddle better. We can't have, pre-snap penalties. Some of that was my fault of, still – because as a coach, when you're trying to call plays, I'm used to seeing the structure of the defense be set up one way based off of how you line up on offense. Well, that changed a whole lot. Now we went from basically to, the Arctic to Antarctica. I mean, it's North Pole, South Pole kind of thing. So it took a little bit to get in the kind of a groove of exactly knowing what Brewston was going to do, and it's going to be the same thing this week. Got to see how Camden wants to play us. But I will say our coaches, Coach Taylor, Coach Brad King, Coach Windsor, Coach Pickard, it was our best effort of the season as far as how we communicated during the game. Everybody had a big say on what we were doing on offense, because we are all doing this from different angles and doing some stuff. Coach Brad King has been around, seen a lot of good stuff, coached a lot of stuff. I've been around and done a lot of things on both sides of the ball and seen good and bad, big school, little school. Coach Taylor played at Lexington, and they were very good, and a lot of what we're doing is what they did. Like, everything's in the phone booth, very physical. The timing, the ball handling from the quarterback to the backs, got to be really good. Coach Pickard played over at South Gibson where they were, had a lot of triple option veer-based stuff in their offense. Coach Windsor's coached a lot of football as well. So, had been on the offensive side of the ball the entire time. So, we got a lot of experience in different places on offense, and we're going to tinker with things and figure some things out. We're still, figuring out exactly what we can get to, not just for this week, but for the rest of the season, because, that's the thing. As of now, and it shouldn't be, hopefully, I don't think anything crazy will happen, but should be in the playoffs, in a couple weeks, and, then it's time to throw everything that you got out there and try to win the game. So we've got a few games to keep working towards that. So execution, trying to get faster in what we do, not like the speed we play with, but the tempo, the crispness, the knowing exactly what you're doing is going to make you play a little faster. Defensively, kind of getting back to our roots a little bit more this week, more of our base identity fundamentally. Last week, we just had to do what we had to do kind of thing against what Brewston did, which was different than what we see. This week, Camden runs an offense that we have seen and defended a few times. So we've got a little familiarity with that. Our linebackers should be a little bit more at ease at what we're doing, D-line as well. So just a week to kind of get back on that side of the ball, kind of get reset a little bit. Special teams, we've improved in special teams throughout the season, and I expect us to keep doing that too. We've stressed some people with our onside kicks. Could have got another one the other night. Mason's getting a little bit more comfortable at kicking off when we ask him to. So we're making strides in a lot of places. With the offensive line, talking about rules, everything is regimented and rule based on the O-line. Like, I'm very, very, very much a big believer in that. And everything we do is for a reason on the O-line. Sometimes we mess it up, but but for the most part, our guys are going to be able to tell you what they're doing based off against a lot of different things that they can see. What we're doing is still in the ballpark of that, but it's a different kind of ballpark.
Gotcha.
It's going to take some time. There's going to be some growing pains with it, but I think what I saw today made a lot of sense. I think it made a lot more sense today. Our guys have had some time to digest exactly what that's going to be about, what we're going to do going forward. So I think if anything, it's cliche to say build off of last week's win. Well, it's not about the win. It's build off of, build off of the things that our kids got to do in practice. And then I hope that they saw it work in the game enough to know they can believe in it. It's not just a shooting from the hip. We're going to hope for the best kind of thing. No, we're doing this because we believe that it fits our kids, and we're not going to put them in a situation to do stuff that they can't do. And that's really, really, really always on my mind. Let's make sure we're doing what we can accomplish. It could look good on a board. It looks good on a YouTube video. This coach can do it at this level, but if our guys can't do it and execute it, why do it? So we're trying to do things that fit our guys right now. And last week, if we continue to get the same buy-in, the effort, we can still have success going forward the rest of the season with it.
You was talking about the buy-in. We've talked about that already plenty of times on this episode, talking about the buy-in and talking about the new guys and what you need them to do and this and that. What was that moment on Friday night during that game that you just went, huh, all right, they got it, they bought into it, and that's what I was looking for? What was that moment? Where was that at in that game?
It was in the second quarter, I would say. There was a moment we were on offense. I think it was our second score. It was I ride over Brown Rat, which is a offensive play call, and our guys, it's the first thing we showed today, and a lot of people. That it's a brand new run scheme for us that we put in on Tuesday of last week, and it was executed the first time we ran it. It was the first time we ran it in the game, and Mason scored on it. And it was a coaching moment today that we didn't do it the best, but we did it pretty well for the first time ever running it, and it scored. That was when I was like, okay, well,
yeah,
we might just be okay here, and we did. But the running game, you look at the stats, like, well, you didn't run for a lot. Well, we were efficient in the run game when we needed to be, and there was a lot of moments where I was like, that schematically, but there was a time in the game in the second quarter we're in a 3rd and 8 or 9 situation, which in what we're trying to do is not good. And I'm brought Fowler over the sideline thinking I thought in my mind what I wanted to run, and he's like, Coach, they're flying in off the backside right there. I just peeked and saw him. I can fake this and boot around them naked and get it. And when you term naked in football is like when you boot by yourself, you have no blocking, you have no protection. You're just hoping they oversell. And he saw that on the fly. He called, and I was like, all right, go run it then. And got 11 on it, got a first down, got us out of a bad predicament. That is stuff. That is stuff. Let's just say that is some stuff that doesn't always happen with children or in college. That came from a sophomore. That was really, really heady of him. And that was another, moment of where our player he was in the moment, and he was totally invested what we were doing. He didn't come over there and ask to run a pass play that we had worked a bunch in July because it was 7-on-7 time. He was invested in what we were doing at the time. And, it was a great moment. And then we had other moments like that. We called a timeout there before the half and literally called a play and threw the ball to Jace on a touchdown that was right off the cuff. I mean, just called it out of nowhere. We hadn't practiced it in a long time. And Zach pumped it to Mason on our motion and got the eyes on him, and Jace ran the right route and went up and was an athlete, made a great play and catch, and was scored, and the ball was right in the place. It was just they just executed and played football. They went out there and balled. And you got to have a little bit of baller sometimes in the moment to be able to change things up and go do it. And it was unbelievable to see that. And we had other moments like that. That was just a couple in the first half. We had some others too. Defensively, the last 2-point conversion play, they're going to tie it up. We run a blitz. Trendon Kirby comes through the gap, gets skinny, makes a great tackle in the backfield. I mean, you could say, did that play win the game? I don't believe in one play winning the game, but, well, I mean, it was a stop to where they didn't get points on the board. So in theory, I guess it won the game. Yeah. So, there was other moments like that. We had some great pressure. The D-line made it hard on the quarterback at times, especially early, and got him off the field on that first possession. And the punt was bad, and we, kind of steamrolled. But, Tice Reed on the defensive side of the ball played a really good game on the defense. He got a sack. Nigel Butler with his effort, Joseph Brogdon. Those guys played good on the defense line, then turned around and played offense every snap. And that it's not easy. It's not easy. And Joseph fought through an injury at the end, barely couldn't but move his leg. We rolled the ball back there a couple times in the gun. Basically just told Joseph, you go out there and get it figured out. Let's just say that in the least amount of words I should say on here. Go get it figured out, snap the ball to Zach, and let's get out of here. And he found a way. It seems like snapping the ball is that easy. When you got a man trying to kill you in front of you, it's not always that easy. So there was just a lot of things like that in the game where a lot of children, a lot of guys, I say children because there's some 13, 14-year-olds out there, but there's also some, young men out there that grew up too. We had some young guys grow up. We had some older guys grow up. And I told everyone this back at the beginning of the season, like we want to be getting better each week, each month, and then toward the season. Are we better at the end of the year than we were at the first year? Well, I don't know if we could, you can quantify that because our team is going to be completely different. But are we going to be better in the first round of the playoffs from an execution standpoint than what we are now? I guess we could say this is the tale of two seasons for us, unfortunately, through injuries and stuff. So, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I think it's going to improve each week. Some of our competition will be better from week to week. And you can't always judge success and progress on the scoreboard. I know that sounds like a moral victory and a kind of a cliche. That's not what I mean. You can play we've done this before. I've seen this, been a part of it. It still sucks because you lose. You can play really, really well and still lose. If you're playing a really, really good team. Sometimes you just can't, you just don't do it. And you can still play well and lose. That does happen in this game. So not all the time, but it can. And as long as, win or lose, we're showing progress and we're taking what we're doing in the practice field, in the meeting room, the weight room, and taking it out there, and you can see it visibly change here and there, then, that will be what we're looking for sure.
I know there's times that we don't always want to, call out a specific player or players, for the risk of maybe leaving somebody else out of something or whatever. But you mentioned them in that last conversation there. There's two guys that I want to mention, and I want to ask you a question about them. I have seen the teamwork out of these two guys, even back in junior high basketball. I wish they played high school basketball. I begged for them to get back into play high school basketball as well. But Fowler and Hammett, they're in the same grade together, and they come from amazing families. And it seems like that when they get together, whether it's basketball, like I said, in junior high, or now, throwing it to each other or pitching it, running in the football, it seems like that when they get themselves together, it's like a magical thing. I'm not saying anything negative about anybody else, but talk about those two boys right quick. Their friendship, their connectivity, their even off the football field. I'm sure they're in the locker room. They're probably very well connected, and I know that the families are very well connected, even outside the school. But it just seems like that those two guys are like reading each other's minds, and what they're doing is making some amazing connections on and off the football field.
Yeah, I mean, they're really close. They're really good friends. They share a lot of time with each other off the field. Played a lot of, well, I don't say play. They've played together, but they've competed together. And there's a difference in play and compete. And they've competed against other teams and other sports together. And, there's a lot of similarities between them, but there's a lot of differences in them too. And that's always cool to see between friends. It's like my friends I've got, like, very similar in certain ways and very different in a lot of ways. But I can't be more proud than those guys. And, I know they were, basketball, baseball, football, all that stuff. And, they've made decisions to do other things that, if Jace would never finish a basketball game if he played. First of all, he'd get teed up very early in the game for being super aggressive and physical. And
that's funny that you bring that up. I've seen that myself.
he would be mad and whatever. But you know, he can take that, and I love the fact he's in the weight room every day, and he does a great job in the weight room, and he can take. I don't have technicals in the weight room. You know, he's not going to get fouled out in the weight room. So
That's right.
that's great. And, you know, and Zach, you know, all of them, they could have been really good basketball players. And Zach plays baseball, of course, and does a great job of baseball. He's a really good baseball player. And Jace could if he wanted to. They're just well-rounded, but their connection, I mean, they do have a chemistry when it comes to, like, you know, we're talking about the passing game right there. And, you know, didn't get a lot of time, but, you know, a lot of those plays that we ran the other night, I know Jace he caught a couple plays. He caught 2 passes off the top of my head that were things that route wise, they throwed hundreds of those going back to even their freshman year. And they just you hadn't seen them do it this year. That's still there, that timing and stuff. So, and we're going to have more of it the rest of the year going forward. That's not going to change. We're going to have to try to do more of it. And, you know, they are very close. I mean, their lockers are not next to each other in the locker room. So, yeah, they've got a great friendship, it seems like. And, you know, they do a great job for us, and they communicate well between each other, and they spend a lot of time with each other. But we got a lot of guys like that. You know, we got a lot of guys in each class that we do have a good chemistry and bond. And, you know, last couple of years that our locker room was, I wouldn't say divided. It was just, there was some different groups of people in their own sects and their own, you know, sections and part of the locker room and stuff. And we don't have nowhere near as much of that anymore. Now you got less players. I guess that's part of it. But we really do got a bunch of guys that got a lot more chemistry together. And, you know, Jason, Zach, I would definitely say going back to middle school, I'm sure that's shown up from there to now. I'm sure it was that like that in Pee Wee too. So they do, and looking forward to using it more, hopefully.
You know, Jonathan brought up a good point talking about this, and that leads to my next question. We talk a little bit about, with me and the officiating basketball, we talk a lot about crew dynamics. Talk a little bit about team dynamics with this team as far as your other players and as a team whole, how important it is to mesh in the locker room, on the field, off the field, and just create that bond, I guess, together.
Yeah. There have been books wrote on this when it comes to the game of football, and there's so many varying opinions on what does a good team look like in the locker room? What does a bad team look like in the locker room? What makes a good team? What makes a bad team? What makes good leadership? What makes bad leadership? With our dynamic, we have a better together. What's the word I'm looking for? We've got more of a synergy with each other. And I think, and this is my belief, and this is me as a coach, my philosophy. I don't think you can't do things to make each other want to be around each other unless you put them in adversity. Yeah. And you have to work through adversity and do things the hard way. When you have to do a lot of hard stuff and your time is invested in it and your soul is invested in it, you don't give up easy on it. So I do things a little differently than some of the coaches do now. It's maybe a little old school approach, but I believe you have to, you can know what kind of team you have by the way they communicate and work with each other in the off season, in the weight room and training and stuff like that. I knew we'd have a better team when it comes to that this year by what I saw in March, in April, 100%. I knew that. Just because you see it, it wasn't fake. You can't fake your way through that.
Yeah.
You can fake your way through the rah-rah speeches and, highlight videos and pump up videos and uniform, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All the fake banter that's out there on social media and the videos and the pictures and the clown show that comes with social media and all the crap that people do that doesn't make you win or lose.
Right.
You have to fight through adversity together. That's the only way. That's what I believe in. And I've seen our guys grow through that. And we went through a lot of different forms of that this year, even during the season and not just in training. So I believe we got a pretty close group. I really do. And
a lot of adversity in the last 2 weeks.
A lot of adversity in the last 2 weeks. And the thing is, and who's to say there won't be more in some kind of way? And that's the game. This game is so valuable to young men in our culture, just because there's nothing else like it. It's the last true game in sport to where you can take every kind of young male and put them in a uniform. It's not like basketball or baseball where you look out there and they almost all look the same.
Yeah.
Basketball, you have the same. Baseball, tennis, cross country, whatever, lacrosse, they all look the same. Football, you have the biggest of the big and the smallest of the small. They come from all walks of life. There's, AAU and travel ball have ruined those sports when it comes to the non-selfishness in it. Football, you don't have that. That's still the last vessel of, you can have the poor kid, you can have the rich kid, and they have to play together and they have to work together. That you don't get that in every sport. And that's why it's so relative to life, because you're going to work with people. You're going to have people in your family. You're going to have people that are totally different. You've got to find a way to work with them. That's why football is so relative to like the real world. And that's why so many people don't get it unless they've actually wore a helmet before and played and worked and grinded. So this is going to be so valuable for so many of our kids, and they just don't even know it yet. And I talk about that all the time. They have no clue what they've gotten out of this yet. It won't reveal itself until they have some hard times come when they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever. And it's the adversity. We talk about it a lot, but you don't always know you're going through it while you're going through it. And you have to get through it sometimes just by your actions and your character. And we talk about there's difference in character and football character. Your character is who you are when no one's watching you, is what I define it as, and a lot of people do too. But football character is, when someone, you mess up, as a 15 or 16-year-old, and you make a mistake, and someone else was part of that mistake, you don't initially go and blame them, and you don't try to get all the attention on that person because you don't want to be alone in taking the blame and being accountable. Football can't, character, we want our guys to be accountable for their actions, good and bad. You're going to get praised when you do right. You're going to get corrected when you do wrong. So, we've got such a good chemistry, like with all kinds of different guys, like young guys. We've got 8th graders now that are communicating with seniors and juniors. That did not happen 2 years ago, 3 years ago, didn't. So that's awesome to see, because it's a collectiveness, not not just a single pact here and there. So talking about shout outs, it would be really, really hard. And we've named a few and everything like that. Some guys had their best games of their life in different ways, but shout out the West Carroll War Eagles, because that was 100% the identity and the exact recipe of a team win. So many things to be proud of. I hope our community and our school and our players' peers and their parents know what kind of job they did last week. Not just Friday night, but the week leading up to it, and their teammates being hurt and they rallied around them. And our team, like, Ben and Q and Jaden, they were there on the sideline cheering those guys on the entire night. The entire night they were invested in what was going on, and that was great to see. That had not been fractured because of injury. So just because they're injured doesn't mean they're not a football player anymore, So they're still part of the team. And, senior, junior, it doesn't matter. So there's so many good things that don't show up in the stat sheet that are going on for us right now that are exciting for us the rest of the season, and also, going into 2025.
We've got Camden coming to town this Friday night, Coach. Talk about the challenges you've got going forward with Camden, and go ahead and give me your 3 keys to success for Friday night.
Number one, got to contain number 7 on defense. He's going to get the ball in his hands on offense, and he lit us up for sound last year. So we've got to contain him, no matter if he's out at receiver, trying to get him the ball in the passing game, direct snapping it to him in the run game, quarterback when he's in the read game, knowing where he's at, how to handle him, knowing how to secure the edge, and if he's going to run the ball, he's got to run it into the teeth of the defense, and we need to hit him. And those kind of things. That on defense is a key. Know where he's at, contain it the best we can. The rest of them, I think they do things that fit us a little bit from our defensive standpoint. So I think we'll be okay in ways. Special teams, again, just as long as we don't do anything to, hurt us, we don't have to win the game of special teams, but we can't lose it. Be awesome if we get an onside kick. Could we get a big return here and there to set us up in field position? Could we pin them down the field, on a kickoff when they're expecting us to onside it? Could we play the game, the chess match, special teams wise, so to speak? And then it's going to continue more so than ever on offense. We cannot have pre and post snap penalties on offense. No false starts, no delay of games. I'll have to do better than that. And that's the thing. Our operational stuff on offense has got to be cleaner and more in sync. We're working on that. But no penalties where we're in a bad situation on offense. We've got to stay above the sticks, 2nd and 6, 3rd and 3.
Stay away from 3rd and long, yeah.
3rd and long, 2nd and longs are not good. Not good for anybody, but really not good for us right now.
Yeah.
And then when the chances are there to make a big play with, some of the different things we might be doing, we got to hit them. We've not hit them in other games. We hit them last week. We were almost perfect on them. So, Mason made a great catch off a little scramble drill to Zach down there by the goal line. Jace made that catch on the sideline from the end zone. The double reverse pass or the double handoff pass we hit on 4th down that, shouldn't have hit. That should never happen. We hit it to a T. We got to keep executing those big moment plays on offense when they come around. But, we don't have a lot of penalties, don't have a lot of, keep the turnovers to a very bare minimum. We got a chance this week, and no one is going to give us a chance. They won't. No one in the papers, no one on the internet, nobody at certain websites, nobody, here and there. They will not pick us. Cool. Vegas would have Camden by several touchdown spread, I'm sure. But you know what? A lot of teams have a several touchdown spread too in college every Saturday and Sunday, and they get beat too. So
they get beat, yeah.
And we're not worried about covering the spread. I promise you, we're worried about getting the win. So, that's the thing. I hope, even though it's fall break, that we have a lot of people come out and support our guys and our coaches. There it should be a great night of. It's finally football weather and.
Yeah, great weather.
Getting there, and that's going to help us every week going forward.
Y'all can say it's football weather all you want to. I'm cold. I'm cold natured. It's cold. I got to find my jacket.
Don't say the C word around me. I don't like the C word. Don't say the cold word around me. Say cool. You can say chill. Don't say the cold word around me. I don't like it. Anyway, I don't like the hot word either. It's warm. Don't say hot either. Long as we don't get affected by the elements, maybe Camden will be affected by the elements, and that's one more thing that we, distract them from doing their job. So, I think we've got a chance if we continue to improve where we need to. Of course, we got to play better defense. We've got to. We've got to find a way to keep 7 hemmed up and, make it hard on them to, do things. Can we get them in some 3rd and long situations? They don't throw it just a ton. If we can get them in those situations, that would be great for us. I think we would have a chance to do some good things there. But offensively, can we keep it in 3rd and short, 4th and short? If we can, then I like what we've got a chance to do. They're good on defense inside their 3D linemen. They start their 2 inside linebackers are good, and we're going to have to find a way to limit their big plays. If they don't make a lot of negative plays on the other side of the line, and we can stay in good situations, then we got a chance to do some things that no one will give us a chance to do.
Well, all right. Well, sound like that's that kind of covers about it. Adam, you got anything else you want to?
No, that's it.
Questions you got?
I've rolled through them.
That's good. That's good. Well, we know it's back. We're back home on Friday night, so everybody needs to come on out. And we've had some good fan count on the away games as well. So everybody come on out here to West Carroll on Friday night against Camden. Hometown Grocery Deli pregame show will start at 6:30. If you're unable to attend, just check us out on the Warrior Radio Network and kick off at 7:30. So, last year we had to battle a little bit of rain and stuff with the Camden game. So it's hopefully we don't have to worry about any kind of the R word, I guess, on Friday night. Just a little chilly as
it. I wouldn't be mad if it rained. If it rained, that would be great. Anything to slow 7 down would be awesome.
Right.
I'm not going to say if we mowed the grass in the last 2 weeks or not. I hope it's higher. I hope it's really high like Notre Dame does. I'm lying. We actually mowed the field today. Coach Taylor mowed the field. I did my job. We did our job and stuff like that. But I was thinking about letting that thing grow, to where maybe you couldn't see their cleats. It wouldn't hurt us any, but it would definitely hurt them a little bit, especially him. He can fly.
Yeah, he can fly.
But, I'm hoping for a good crowd. We've had good crowds all year. It's going to be good weather, no rain in the forecast. And, we got 2 more home games. And, hopefully people can get a chance to come out here and support our guys. They are working hard, and like we said, it's the very beginning of the season. We just want to put something out there that our people are going to be proud of. And if you can't come away from what we did the other night proud of how our guys fought and clawed, then I don't know what I can tell you. I'd go watch something else. We had a lot of kids. There was nothing left in their tank after the game Friday night. So I can't be more proud of them. We got a lot to improve and work on, but as far as how I feel about their effort, it was really great to see as good an effort as we've had since I've been here.
If you wanna see a photo of, I guess proudness would be the word. One of our sponsors, King Photography Studios, they were there the other night. Michael and Melanie King.
Mm-hmm.
Go look at the photos that they posted just a little bit ago about the West Carroll at Brewston game, and there was one of them that it's Jace Hammett's parents and his granddad. Go look at his granddad. That photo just sums it up. I mean, he is yelling for all it's worth. Got his hat up, and so that was fun to look at that picture. But yeah, I mean, it seemed like the crowd was really into it the other night, and they need to continue to do that same thing as we go. But like you said,
more cowbells.
Yeah, break more cowbells. Yeah,
That's right.
Get the cowbells going.
Just as long as we do it when we're on defense, not offense.
Right.
That would do me a big favor. It wasn't until about yesterday that I started to get my voice back. So if we're a little quiet on offense, awesome. If we're bringing it pretty good on defense, that's fine with me. We signal on defense anyway, so we're good.
You still want to have to yell over the cowbells?
No, it's tough to do. It's really hard to do. I've tried it many years in different places. When you got to talk loud, it's hard. So we're going to try to do better with how much we can spare my voice a little bit on offense and signal some things into the huddle a little bit better. But we're still developing that. That's a new thing for us. So each week we're going to try to improve that and get better at it, be more effective. But last week it was a whole lot of Coach Dolan yelling at Zach and Zach saying, now exactly, just going back and forth. And it was like, just run over here. I'll meet you. I'll try. I'm going to get flagged eventually and probably, but you run over here. I'll take the flag. We'll make sure we're on the same page and go. And it was a whole lot of us figuring it out on the fly the other night.
I tell you what we could do. We need to. I'll send a message to Jason Aubrey's mom here in a minute. Get Aubrey a sign that says cowbells and let her hold it up. And then when it's down, they don't do it. Hold it up for cowbells.
Just like a sign, a little light that comes on that says applause.
Applause. Yeah.
If we had a sign that would light up and it says cowbell on it,
there you go.
I'll get the Booster Club. We can write a PO for that. We'll try to get something purchased where it says cowbell, and
right.
it just blinks. I would love to do something like that.
That would be funny. Put Aubrey in charge of that. Just get her a little clicker that turns that light on and off.
Oh, she'd love it. I got plenty of people that would love to do that.
That's funny.
Cowbell operator. That'd be awesome.
That's funny. All right. Well, I reckon that is going to do it for this episode of Talons Out Live. We'll see everybody on Friday night. Come out and support the War Eagles. And as Camden comes to town, if you're unable to, don't forget Hometown Grocery Deli pregame show at 6:30 and the kickoff at 7. So that'll do it. On behalf of Coach Adam Dolan, Adam Welch, I'm Jonathan Gowan, and we will talk to you Friday night on the War Eagle Radio Network.